Good evening and welcome to the Comm Center. I'm Drew Breezy. Tonight, we're going to zip up the final installment in our Suitcase Trilogy. Listen, if you haven't heard the first two episodes, don't worry. This isn't one of those series where you have to follow along like Game of Thrones or anything. But I would love for you to go back and watch the first two. John is going to complete a diorama of the interrogation room right before your eyes tonight while I speak. And I'm going to give you a Halloween treat, a John-O-Lantern, if you will. All that and what it means for your weekend tonight on the Comm Center.
City council members have announced their plan to disband the Minneapolis Police Department.
We're calling for defunding the police.
Shootings in New York City have more than doubled this year.
This is the #1 podcast and platform where we entertain and inform first responders. Tonight is a show that is about 911 dispatchers and how we work in the field to protect our communities. Or it's also about detectives and how they interrogate people in an interrogation chamber, which I believe is what it's called. Drew is a veteran detective. He's our host for tonight. Communications room with Lieutenant Andrew Baxter. Drew used to teach this when he was a detective. He taught a course, a 40-hour course to prospective detectives, deputies of all kinds. He would teach them an interview and interrogation techniques. He would rob the minds of the guilty and use that information to convict them. Tonight, he's going to put on a show for you. He's going to show you what's going on in the mind of the accused, this crazy Sarah Boone lady who zipped up her boyfriend in his suitcase. Zany murder, if there ever was one.
Wacky.
He's gonna, yes, wacky. He's also gonna take you deep into the minds of detectives and what they're thinking about. But first, let's check in with Drew. Drew, how the heck are you, old buddy?
It's a packed weekend. I was supposed to be in Jacksonville, as you all know. It is a packed weekend, though, filled with family. As a matter of fact, I just left Jackson's baseball game, okay? And nothing, John, I know that you'll agree with me, nothing says I support the great American pastime than a now defunct Canadian team known
Montreal
as the Expos.
Yep.
Yeah,
You should be proud of me for knowing that. Yeah.
And by the way, Montreal wanted to secede from their own country as well. I think, though, if you flip this upside down, it becomes a W for the Washington Nationals. So, in theory, it became the national team of the United States. So, we got that. We got an archery tournament going on. Taylor's version of 1989 gets dropped tonight. I don't know if any of us are going to get sleep. I've been fighting a
palpable.
Fever.
The energy's palpable.
It's out of the. I've been fighting a fever since I was in the 7th grade. I think it's the same fever that I had when I was in Clayton, and that's about all I got. I mean, I'm in for a packed weekend, and to boot. My beloved home team, Buffalo Bills, are playing against my current home team, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, on Thursday Night Football, which is probably where Micah is, one. And two, it creates a huge conflict for me, John. You know why? Because I hate the NFL. So that's the main thing.
I know it was better back in the day when they played a real game, and I know the strike was tough for you. And then, of course, trying to hang on through the 4 falls of Buffalo was also, like those are the times to try men's souls. That missed Scott Norwood field goal. I mean, that many men fell in the cold that January, so don't feel bad about that. Plus, the Cowboys beat them twice, which really helped me level up as a boy. Really helped me to feel like winning the Super Bowl was a normal thing that would happen every year when I was a child. So it's not like it set up a huge, neurological problem for me that would last my whole life about the Cowboys not making it back since that day.
Yeah, I feel like crying a little bit, but I'll tell you, so you'll know, one of my favorite players on that Dallas team was Daryl Moose Johnston.
Love him. Yep.
And out of Lewiston Newport, which is a stone's throw from Niagara Falls. Is actually where my niece goes to high school.
That's a cool story. I like him because he was a good fullback.
He was a good citizen. Good
He's
person.
still a good announcer, and I believe he's a part owner of, and I could be wrong on this. Double check it later, if you care enough. But I think he's a part owner of the uh, uh, Arena League football team, the Barnstormers, maybe.
I believe that.
Just a cool guy. Want to acknowledge some
Bar-
people in the chats, unless you want to talk about Moose Johnston all night. I
No,
can do
go,
that.
please.
First of all, I wanted to say hi to anybody that's dropping in from the crispy donut community. I see Ralph there. I think Catherine's one of ours. Could just be Ralph. I tried to hop on with the crispy donut community today. They're these guys that they're really enthusiasts about everyday carry, which is like being proud of owning a wallet and a pocket knife and stuff. And the other day they were, oh my God, he's an Eagles fan. Why does God? I gotta discriminate against friendships I'm making better. Somehow it's not working out for me. I hate the Eagles with all my heart, but Ralph, you're still welcome here. I'll talk about how much I hate the Eagles this weekend on Patreon. Anyway,
They're a
I tried to jump.
blast.
I tried to jump on with them, but for some reason they didn't have a live today, so I don't know what's up with that. Thomas Hunt's in the chats. Welcome, Catherine. I already acknowledged you. You've been acknowledged. Captain Micah has always been promoted. I see a Lumen Melder who says Madge says hi. I don't know if that's Madge herself, or if you guys in the chats don't know who Madge is, it's because you don't subscribe to Patreon, which is okay. But if you do want more failure to stop, you can get it that way. And also, I've just got a brief item to touch on in the news, just as a follow-up, Drew, before we get started.
Oh, please.
So I don't know if you remember this, but there was an episode once where you completely disappeared for about 12 minutes.
Yeah.
And I talked about Ben Darby in his case down in Alabama because I was uncomfortable, and it was the only police-related thing on earth that I knew anything about at the time.
Sure.
Kaylin Darby just got on Instagram yesterday or the day before, and Ben was set to go back to trial. If you don't remember Ben Darby's case, it was about 5 years ago. He arrived on scene to a guy named Parker. I'm sorry, I don't know his first name, but he had a pistol, and he was in his house with two officers. Darby arrived, found these two officers ignoring all tactical protocols of being in the same room with a man with a gun. They didn't have their guns out. Obviously, should have been outside trying to establish safe communications from a distance, establish a perimeter. This Parker guy said he had told a neighbor that he wanted to kill a cop, suicide by cop. Darby goes in there, and the moment in question is when Parker posed some kind of threat to Darby and the other police officers, and Darby made the decision that he had to use force against Mr. Parker. Well, this was all during the George Floyd era, and Officer Ben Darby, who reacted according to his training and in accordance with the law, and they made him an example, and they charged him with murder after a whole bunch of bullshit went on where they cleared him of any wrongdoing administratively. And then
Yeah, it was a good shoot.
Yes.
His department not only cleared him, use of force experts testified in the trial that it was a good shoot, and not, the city itself paid for part of his defense.
Exactly. So he got convicted. He went to prison, and they got an appeal. Their appeal was granted, and they were given a new trial. Well, so Ben got out of prison about 7 months ago, and this whole time, we've been thankful for that. But they've had this trial date coming up in December. Well, the way that Kaylin puts it is that good news and bad news. The good news is Ben Darby is not going to go to trial in December. The bad news is that he pled to manslaughter, and on the condition that he face no prison time. So he's going to be on supervised release for 3 years. He can't talk about the case at all during the next 3 years. So it's just very tough because all of us are behind Ben Darby because he's a principled person who chose to fight and do what was right. They offered him a deal to begin with way back before this all started. After being separated from his wife, and after all, frankly, the bullshit of the criminal justice system and being made into an example for something he didn't do wrong, he's decided he wants to spend the rest of his life with his wife and leave all this nonsense behind. And who can blame him for that? So best of luck to the Darbys. Hopefully we'll hear from you guys in 3 years' time when you can come out and talk about your case. Hopefully there'll be a book deal or something.
I've had a few questions, because I've talked about the Darby case extensively, and Most of the questions I'm fielding are like, well, if everyone was such a staunch advocate and he didn't do anything wrong, why would anybody in their right mind plea? And that's just it. People have to understand that the criminal justice system works this way. I can't tell you how many quote innocent people plea. You're putting your future in the hands of a jury that it didn't go in your favor the first time.
Yeah.
And it's an attorney's job to mitigate your punishment, maybe not necessarily get you 1000% free. Um, they She mentioned one of the most important aspects of this is during the trial itself, they viewed him, and the judge gave jury instructions to the jury to view him as a as a regular citizen.
Yeah.
Right, not as a police officer. Like, police officers have different standards, and police officers are trained, for different things, but they were instructed to disregard his status as a police officer. And of course, the Supreme Court came back with Darby versus Alabama that said you can't do that. That's not fair to police officers. They are specifically trained for a reason. And so they at least set precedents, and this nightmare will all be over in 3 years if he just does his probation and keeps his head low, and he won't have to go back to prison, which I think is probably the primary reason. Like, he's already been down that road.
Yeah.
He's already been in prison, and he's not going back. I don't blame him one bit. Like,
No, but it is unfortunate that he never did anything wrong. Now he has to live life as a felon. He can't own a firearm. He can't vote and all this. Hopefully, there's some hope that he could get an executive pardon from the governor or the president at some point. That could happen. But I want to say this to anyone who's criticizing him for running away from his ideals. I'm going to tell you this. I went through jury selection, January, February this year. It was on a homicide case, and we were there all day. And I have a degree in criminal justice, which is not a big deal, okay? But I mean, I have had some education on it.
humble
I was sitting-
brag.
No, 4 years is nothing. All it did was give me some crippling debt, and I can watch welders and plumbers go out there and make a lot more money than me. So I was sitting there all day, and the common juror, the common person, I could not believe how do I put this? Ignorant they were about the law.
Yeah.
They have all these, they know so much, and everything they know is wrong, and everything else they're completely vacant on. And I'm sitting there all day surrounded by these people, and you would have people who are really proud to be good citizens and good jurors, and they would be saying the stupidest things all day, to the point where I'm trying not to rub my face because the lawyers are sitting there looking at me, and I'm sure they're judging me by every angry expression that I'm making about how unhappy I am to be there. I actually put that in my juror questionnaire that I was not happy to be there, just because I felt like that was the truth. And I can't imagine putting my life in the hands of people like that. People who have no idea what it means to be a good citizen. They got a C in high school civics 30 years ago, and they don't know what it's like to be a police officer. They don't understand the criminal justice system. They don't understand lawyers. They don't understand anything that's going on around me. I'm not even a big deal. I'm not a lawyer, but at least I had a grasp of what was happening. And then when I had to see these people who were totally uneducated, all of a sudden they were my peers. It was very frustrating. I know we don't have a system that's better. It's kind of bullshit of me to complain about something and not have something to offer to replace Western jurisprudence. But all I can say is I don't blame Ben Darby for one bit for not wanting to go back in front of those people and have them decide.
A jury of your peers means a randomized selection from the pool of drivers, people with valid driver's licenses. That's literally where they choose that from. It used to be here in Florida or here in Hillsborough County or this judicial circuit, they used to pull you from the voter rolls. So if you were registered to vote, that's where you would get your jury duty notice. So they they made the connection that if you're a good citizen, you're probably a voter. Therefore, you're probably going to put something into being a juror and blah blah blah. Well, they couldn't get enough people for the jury, so they just went to this method of randomized driver's licenses, and that's how they call people to jury duty. It's just a machine that generates randomized driver's licenses. So if you want to throw 400 driver's licenses in a hat, pick 12 out and put your fate in their hands and hope that they're not biased against police officers, that they haven't watched a minute of CNN over the last 6 years. These are the same people you're arguing with in the comments on Instagram and Facebook, by the way. You want to put your fate in their hands? Go ahead. I think your head is made of stone. But if you maybe plead to a lesser charge of manslaughter, understand that all you have to do is keep your nose clean for 3 years, and this nightmare will be over, and you'll never have to step in a prison again, because you may not make it out of prison as a police officer. I know that might be a foreign concept to some people, but once they figure out who he is, he's probably not coming out alive. It's almost a certain death penalty. I'm on your side, John. I don't blame him one bit for taking the plea deal.
Well, not only that, I mean, prisons, even if they were able to hide his identity forever, prison is awful. And when you're a young guy and all you ever wanted to do is help your community and live your life with your wife and have all those normal things, prison's not the place for you. Like he's not a criminal. He doesn't belong there. Right. So I don't blame him at all. And I just wish the best of luck for him. I hope great things happen for Ben Darby. So,
well, you know who does belong in prison, John, is Sarah Boone. And
yeah,
how we got here previously is just to catch you up. I think I got it right at the point where we put it on pause last time, but what they did was so just to recap, in case you're just catching this for the first time, this is part 3 in the trilogy of Sarah Boone, of what we're calling the Suitcase Case. Not to be redundant, but
also not to not be redundant either.
Not to not be redundant, because we are actually members and presidents of the Club of Redundancy Club, and we are officers in the same organization. I think that what we're doing here is recapping Sarah, who had a few drinky drinks, and she probably more than likely had been abused by this fella that she was seeing. I think a lot of it was based in alcohol. Some of the neighbors have reported to the detectives, or had reported to the detectives, that they heard them drunk and screaming all the time and all this other stuff. So one Sunday evening, they had a few drinks, and they decided to play hide and seek after imbibing and doing puzzles and artwork. I don't know if they were doing dioramas, but they in the process, the male half, I don't remember his name, God rest his soul anyway, got into a suitcase in this.
I believe it was written out Jorge, but it was pronounced George.
George. Okay. And I don't speak as Spanish as well as you do. So he gets in the suitcase. She zips it all the way up. She claims that she left like 2 fingers worth of, for him to get out. Very clearly, though, she takes video of it, of him on the ground in the suitcase in this vicious game of hide and seek, which, she knows where he is, so he already lost, right? And she's filming him, and he's saying things like, "Sarah, I can't breathe in here, babe. You got to let me out. I can't breathe in here." Well,
I'm getting murdered.
Well, eventually what happens is Sarah, just starts making comments about, "This is what I feel like when you cheat on me. This is what I feel like when you're choking me." And so now we've added a pinch of malice into this very unfortunate situation. She went up and went to bed. She just claims that she went to bed and forgot about it. But more than likely what happened is she went up to bed and passed out. I don't know. I wasn't there. I'm taking a wild guess. So she goes upstairs, passes out. She comes down around noonish. She gets up at the crack of noon the next day, and she looks at the suitcase on the floor and has this light bulb moment. Oh, shit. I left him in the suitcase. And opens the suitcase, and sure enough, there were signs of postmortem lividity, and she tried to give him CPR, and he started gurgling and stuff, like signs of apparent death. She called 911. They gave her instructions on how to do CPR. We reviewed the body cam in episode 1, I believe. Episode 2, we kind of went through the front part of the interrogation. Now we're just going to finish up the interrogation, so you can be just as angry as I am, but you'll see how she acts and reacts to all of this. So where we left off in this thing, just when they were getting ready to show her own phone video, which she claims that she did not remember taking either, and she claims that she was not inebriated either, the laptop died on the computer. So again, as John told you, I taught interviews and interrogations for quite a while, and I'm just going to lend my 2 cents of what's going on in this interrogation room, and we'll finish it out that way. So here they are, very distracted.
You guys are scaring me.
Why?
By what's going on.
We just want you to watch this. This came from your phone. Don't you want to know what's on it?
Yes, please. Is it long? Because I don't know how much I can take.
No.
Those are, I think those would be common questions for someone who doesn't want to watch the death of a loved one, but at the same time, I do believe her tone would be a lot different if she didn't know
She
how
knows
it
what's
turned
on
out.
there. It's from her
Yeah.
phone. Yeah,
Yeah, unless she was just so drunk she was blacked out drunk, but
I guess.
I don't know how much I can take.
she also claimed that video.
Do I
didn't
have to
exist.
watch this? I continuously throw up. I don't sleep. I don't want to see it, if that's okay.
Well, it's on your phone, and you can either explain it or we take it for what it is.
Yeah, we're just trying to give you the opportunity to tell us what's going on. That's it.
It's that long?
2 minutes.
No.
So you can hear her yelling, kind of saying things to him, and she sounds drunk, like she's for everything you did to me, and you can hear him faintly in the background yelling, Sarah, Sarah.
For everything you've done to me. Fuck you.
And
Fuck
it's
you.
that's you, your voice.
Stupid. That's my name. Don't wear it up. I can't fucking breathe, man. Yeah, that's when you do it. You choke me.
I don't want to watch it, please. Okay.
Last time we talked to you, you had said that you put him in the suitcase, he had 2 fingers hanging out. And you
I
went to
flipped him
bed.
over.
Okay, what does that mean though? So he said last time we talked to you, you said he put him in the suitcase and you gave him 2 fingers to breathe, and her immediate response, she's not distraught about the fact that she just is watching this, like she wants them to shut it off because she doesn't want to hear it anymore. She's not distraught about that. She's not confused by any of it, and she's definitely not saying, guys, I don't even remember taking this video. I've got some big problems here, which is probably the only acceptable answer in my opinion. He's just like, I'm giving you the opportunity, and she's like, well, I flipped him over. That's probably the dumbest answer I've ever heard in my entire life. Yeah, you flipped him over. Like, what did you think was going to happen, Sarah?
I flipped him over, and that's where it was.
There's 2 different videos and a still picture where, it shows you flipping him in different positions and him saying that he can't breathe and you saying fuck you.
So this is upside down. So in order for him to have gotten into it,
It was flipped up.
right, it was flipped up normal.
Yes.
Like as if you're packing something. So this is upside down.
Guys, this is killing me right now.
So this image is upside
It's killing him, Sarah.
down, and then this small video that occurred 11 minutes later, it's flipped over the other way, closer to your dining room table.
Okay.
Now he's obviously still in there. So he didn't, how did it go from the back to the front?
I flipped it.
Okay.
My plan was not to go upstairs and go to sleep,
Well, that's what you did.
Yeah.
but not intentional though.
No, you told me you went upstairs because
What?
you were
Stop
getting
here.
ready for bed.
Stop.
She's making that arm motion. She keeps saying stopped here, but where is here? Like, I mean, she's even making a motion that she zipped it all the way up, to be honest, but.
Here.
Okay, but
Where's here?
show me where you can see any fingers coming out, because there's the end.
It's, and his head's right here.
Mm-hmm.
So going like this, rather than going all the way up, it's like this.
But why is he saying I can't breathe, and why is he pushing on it as if he can't get out?
And it doesn't show a hole.
There's no hole. There's no fingers. I don't see his fingers. There's no hole.
I don't know what you want me to tell you. Like, I don't know, like, what you want me to tell you.
This is the point. I mean, I always stop them, and especially if it's recorded, I want you to tell me the truth. I don't want you to tell me anything but the truth. Don't tell me anything that you think happened. Tell me exactly what happened, but be truthful about it. I mean, they have an effective tool right at their fingertips, which would be kind of playing that recording over and over again. I think you'd be pushing the bounds almost, but it's fair game. She asked you to stop. There's no law that says you kind of have to. I mean,
I'm just telling you what we see and what we've heard from the other video.
I understand.
He's begging for you to let him out. You're laughing in the beginning, and then in the end it sounds kind of like a...
No, it's not malicious.
Well, saying fuck you.
It's not malicious.
Then what is that?
What does fuck you mean to you?
Well...
Like if I were to tell my
like
partner...
he does. Like, I get called everything but a white woman, so...
Right. So...
it's not your fault.
This gets turned on her. Yeah. She's saying, I'm the victim here. I get called everything but a white woman, and I can't say fuck you while he's suffocating right in front of me, is essentially what she's saying.
Okay.
My intention was not to leave him in there.
Well, you did. You did
Right.
leave him in there.
I think in the theme development, though, I think I would stick with that. Like, it's not necessarily going to be an out because, again, she has sprinkled some malice in the stew here already by saying things like fuck you and this is what it's like when you strangle me. But, like, look, you like to be in control. You've told us that. You're a control freak. You don't know what to do when things go wrong. That's the position you're in right now. And I'm here trying to help you. And that's all I want to do is I just want to help you, but I can't help you unless you start telling me the truth. So, you're floating down this river and I'm trying to throw this, life, this donut out to you, but you're looking at me saying, fuck you. And you're just swimming on past, but you're going to get caught up in the current at some point, Sarah. And I don't know what to do when you start drowning because I've already tried to throw you a few lifelines here and you're not taking the lifelines. Like, put yourself in my shoes. This is what I would be telling her. Put yourself in my shoes, Sarah. I mean, literally, I'll take my shoes off and you can sit here and tell me, would you believe you? If you heard what you're saying, I know you wouldn't because you're smarter than that. So let's get to the truth. Let's talk about what happened. Was it that you went upstairs because you were drunk? And then, so in your theme development, you've created, maybe this idea that, well, maybe I was just a little too intoxicated and I didn't understand what was going on. And yeah, I passed out. Like, because she's really not budging on any of this. Do you have a take on any of this, John?
Well, I just want to acknowledge some of the people in the chats who don't think that I'm real or live or whatever.
Right.
Tactical dude, Marine's blood. I'm alive. This is real time. I guess she just kind of makes my blood run cold. And to be honest, she reminds me of inmates. Classic criminal thinking.
Right.
No matter how much you confront her with guilty information, there's always some reason why it's not her fault. It's circumstances' fault. Probably one of my favorite quotes from prison, and I'll just let you go on. I don't have a lot to say, but there was an inmate once who said, the only reason I'm in prison is because I knew a guy who tried to get himself murdered. He was in prison for attempted murder. He literally was so dissociated from the truth and culpability. He said, I knew someone that tried to get themselves murdered. That's her. She's only going to be in prison because she knew a guy that got himself zipped up inside a suitcase. So
if Marine's blood or Tactical would like to type out some type of number with their cloven hands, I will read the number, and John, you can read it as well. And
You know
we
what?
will
You know
prove
what a
that we are
good number for them to call out
live.
would be
666. Yes.
I was going to say 848 Comm 911.
Why? What is that? 848 Comm 911. That might be a phone call, phone number that you could call. That
And talk to us live, and we're
talk
not
to
at
us live.
home, and we're not
Oh, Will
naked.
Cray
And we're
says
not.
69. Look, Tactical says, look, Marines is getting me in trouble. You're both Marines. Like, yes, you're going to go down together. So 1911, according to Michael Hendricks, which is some type of Smith & Wesson product. Okay, here we go. Have you? So she admits like she's done this before. At least this is how I would kind of attack this statement.
So it goes from funny to no longer funny,
But
and
I
you're the
didn't-
only one laughing.
But I didn't think that he was, like, panicky. Like,
So pushing up on a suitcase saying, Sarah, 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 I can't breathe.
George has done that in the past before, too, where it's just like he thinks that he's woe is me kind of thing, where it's like, I don't
He's
think-
never been locked in a suitcase. That's
No.
why he
He's in a
couldn't get out.
suitcase.
So,
It's kind of, I thought it was
And
the
you know
boy
the oxygen
crying
is
wolf,
coming.
crying wolf kind of thing.
okay.
And again, my plan.
But nowhere in there is he laughing, is he joking. He is begging. And you're the only one laughing,
Okay.
and you're the only one saying derogatory comments, like you're mad.
No. Please don't, I don't mean to sound negative, and I don't know if I can say this, but, like, it's like you guys are kind of trying to, like, feed me. Like,
No, I'm just trying to show you a video that you no longer want to watch because you probably don't want to know the outcome of how and what you said.
well, I know what,
You know what's on that video now?
no.
People try to build their defense when they're sitting there talking to you. So she's already saying you're trying to feed me, or you're putting words in my mouth, or whatever.
I don't
But
mean to be rude, but don't interrogate me for murder.
Right? Like you could have asked me politely if I had murdered my boyfriend. So like when you do that, like you need to remind them, maybe, like, you realize this is recorded, right? Like that's probably not going to work. Like, their minds are going 200 miles a minute, and sometimes it's better to just kind of throw them off the track with the truth sometimes. So
You remember making that video?
Drew.
Oh,
Why don't you remember making the video?
probably because we had been drinking.
But you weren't drunk.
No. Just because I went upstairs and, just
You
because
told
you're
us-
drunk doesn't
you
mean.
see, this is the hand motions not matching what she's saying. You got to watch the verbal cues. You got to watch what she's saying, and she catches herself in the lies, so she stops talking. I'll play it again in a second, but she's like, but you weren't drunk. Now, if you remember in the previous episode, I said that's the importance of locking her into a story.
Yeah.
She locked herself into the story of saying, compos mentis, I was in the right frame of mind. I wasn't drinking. I had a few glasses of wine, and that's it.
Yep.
And they offer her, well, what in God's name would possess you to do that if you didn't do it on purpose? She's like, well, I was hammered. I mean, what do you expect? And then she calls her on it, which is perfect. She's like, a minute ago you said you weren't hammered.
Yeah.
Now she has to come up with a new excuse, and it's just typical stuff.
That you,
times that you were not drunk. You said that you had.
Watch because you probably don't want to know the outcome of how and what you said.
well, I know what,
You know what's on that video now?
No.
You remember making that video?
oh,
Why don't you remember making the video?
That's truthful.
probably because we had been drinking.
But you weren't
That's
drunk.
truthful. I believe
No.
that.
Just because I went upstairs and, just
You
because
told
you're
us-
drunk doesn't mean
told us
that
several
you,
times that you were not drunk. You said that you had your wits about you. You said he had his wits about you.
mhm.
You said that you don't like not having your wits. In my experience, if somebody cannot remember doing something to the extent of making 2 videos and taking a photo, they are intoxicated.
Okay, I understand where you all are coming from.
Well,
I
we're
get
just
it.
trying to make.
Right. You got her. Like, I understand where you're all coming from. So capitalize on that. Like, let's not do the dance anymore. We don't need to get rude with her anymore, and we don't need to yell and scream or whatever. And I'm not criticizing these detectives. They're doing their job. But you got her, and she knows it. So capitalize on that. Build her back up. build her to the smart person that she is. Look, if you give her the out of being so intoxicated that she forgot that she took the video and she went upstairs and she passed out, you think that might be even if you think that might be an issue at trial, what about any DUI manslaughter trial? Don't you think that that's the first thing that they say? Like, you're proving that I was inebriated out of my mind when I killed these people, so I wasn't in my right mind. Like, usually people argue the opposite. She contradicted herself several times, but she's trying to argue, no, I was in my right mind. Like, I think if you called her on that, I think she might take a different tone. That's just my opinion.
Except that we're trying to figure out what you're saying.
What's that?
I just think it's so irritating when you talk to people who constantly contradict themselves and they're defensive like that. It can just, I don't know how you can stand being in the room with them, but at the same time, as a detective, at what point did the fun begin? Because you've absolutely got her dead here. She's made several statements that are not going to work out for either way. I said this on True Crime Tuesday, where we had a guy, Ron DeFeo, who killed his family, constantly changed his story about what happened, but he couldn't change his story without incriminating himself in a different way. So the way that I put it, and I am a man of such singular words, is that you can't have your cake and eat it too. But even if you do, you're fat either way, because the guy was going to prison for the rest of his life. She seems like no matter what route she chooses, she's in trouble here.
Right, and this is why any attorney worth their weight in salt is going to tell you. This is why Casey Anthony didn't talk. She consulted with Jose Baez or whoever she consulted with, and they're like, yeah, go back in there and tell them you'll sign whatever, but you're not saying a word to them because they're going to catch you in the lie. You already know. So this is what we're dealing with. Tanner, your assignment right now is to find out the score of the Tampa Bay Lightning game. Thank you.
You're out.
You don't know us, is what she claims.
He's telling you, Sarah, I can't breathe. He's saying your name, and you're like, that's my name, don't wear it out.
Guys, that's how we are with each other. Like, nobody understands our relationship. The whole suitcase thing.
It's cruel and homicidal.
Never happened
relationship.
Would you leave someone else in a suitcase? Would you leave Lucas in a suitcase jokingly? Because it was a joking matter. You put him in there jokingly. Would you leave Lucas jokingly in there? And you love Lucas, right? And you love
I wouldn't
George.
do that to him either. I wouldn't do that to him.
So
she's literally saying, I wouldn't do that to the guy I did that to. That's literally what she's saying right there.
I just...
This might be a slip.
Let's say if somebody told you that they had done this.
Done what?
Zipped somebody in a suitcase and went up and went to bed.
Do you all not think, so you all think that it's like, oh good, I got him in there, now I'm going to go to sleep? Is that what you guys are trying to assume?
Like, first of all, her response of, done what? The shit we're talking about, the shit that we've been talking about for the last 2 hours, your dead boyfriend, that's what?
Or trying to, like...
Or just the video...
And I don't remember doing those.
The injuries are not consistent with what you've told us. So we have a lot of inconsistencies, and this video explains itself. It really, truly does.
You don't think that I have thought about that?
Thought about the video, or thought about...
But no, again, if you don't mind, please.
She caught herself again. She was like, you don't think I thought about that? And which is a tacit admission. This is an admission. She's saying, you don't think I've tried to work my way out of that already with you guys? That's exactly what she's saying. So call her on it. But she has a moment to recover, and she stops talking and then regains her composure. And the detective rightfully says, yeah, you what thought about the video? Yeah, I hope you have.
So you all are assuming that it's like, oh good, I got him in there, now I'm going to go to sleep? Is that what you all are assuming?
Well, it's not an assumption when that's what you told us that happened.
That's what happened.
And the video...
But when I unzipped it with one finger.
From the outside.
But it had the hole in it.
Watch her posture here.
But you could on the inside too. I don't know how.
Well, why wouldn't he have gotten himself out if he could? He was
I don't know. Like, I don't know if
asking.
you saw, like, where the hole was. I don't
I
know.
didn't see a hole.
No
I
one
didn't
sees
see
the
no
hole.
fingers
You're the
sticking
only
out.
one that's what I'm saying. Like, he's in one position, and where his head would be, we should be able to see fingers. And then when it's flipped over onto this right side, again, his head is closer to us facing the video, so we should be able to see fingers, and we don't see anything.
Let me just tell you my take on this, or where we would be. Like, you can watch any of these interview shows yourself. Like, you can watch any of these, like 48 Hours or whatever, police shows. And you'll see in the interrogation, just like this, you'll see them slumped over with their shoulders, just everything forward. And she's got her arms crossed. And again, we talked about that protective posture. And she's got her ankles crossed, which is another protective posture. You will also see when they finally bargain with themselves to start telling the truth, that they literally open up like a flower. They open up. They start, like they're coming clean.
They peacock in front of you.
They peacock in front of you. So the thing to look out for, though, and this is where, the point in my class, I would always talk about how silence is golden. When you see her shoulders slumped and she takes that deep kind of cleansing breath and she's got her head down, that's a sign of defeat. So if you just sit there and let her think, she might be trying to gather up the nerve to talk to you. She might be gathering up the nerve. As my friend Jim just said, these are guilt indicators. She's just gathering the stones to say, okay, let's try this again. And she's going to give you a little bit more of an admission, or maybe the first confession, which, by the way, don't ever take the first confession. The first confession is, okay, now that we got that out of the way, tell me what really happened.
It's a modified truth. Yeah. Do we have a phone call from Will? I just wanted to not ignore him if he is calling in. I mean, I do kind of want to ignore him, but for integrity's sake, I don't think we should ignore him if he's on the phone.
I did not realize it was Will. Will Cray?
Yeah, Will Cray. Yeah, regular guy. He's a long time caller.
Hi, Will.
Will.
Hey, I'm kind of stuck in a suitcase. Can you help me get out?
Can you reach with one finger, sir, and unzip your...
My hands are kind of on the opposite side. It's kind of hard. I need some help.
Were you born that way, sir, with your hands on the opposite side? Is that what you're saying?
No, the zipper's on the other side. It's by my back. I can't reach over there.
Are you talking about the zipper on the suitcase or the zipper on your jorts?
Yeah.
Okay. Here's what hold on. Let me get John. He's a 911 guy. Let me get John to walk you through this. I'm gonna transfer you through to Minneapolis, the Lauro Fire Department, and they are gonna walk you through this. Do you happen to have an everyday, if you had everyday carry, like, do you happen to have some type of like box cutter and or switchblade with you?
It's on the exterior pocket of the suitcase.
Oh, no.
Well, I think you screwed yourself, because even if you try to get through TSA, they're not going to, you know what I mean? That was a bad move on your part, sir. I don't want to say you deserve to die. I hope we can save you. If we don't, just refer back to this part of the conversation. John, help him out.
Hey, Will is actually one of our few listeners who actually would fit in a suitcase, but honestly, he's built he is absolutely stacked like a fire hydrant. This guy he would just like explode out of it. Hi, you can't murder me, Sarah. And then yeah.
Oh wait, let me flex real quick. Oh wait, I'm out.
Oh, okay.
We're not going to use that sound bite for evil at any point. Will, don't worry about that.
Not at all. It turns out, thank you, Will, for calling. I'm glad that you can breathe once again. I'm going to drop you out here. It turns out he was actually trapped in a toilet in an RV. Okay, let's get back to this, because it's probably painful at this point.
We see no movement of him trying to unzip it or physically unzipping it. All we see is pushing up, trying to push out of it.
Please do not assume.
I'm not assuming. I haven't assumed anything. I follow evidence. What do you think?
All right, here's the deal. there comes a point where you have to take control back of the interview. She's obviously not listening to you. She's talking to you. And you're giving her every out. You're giving her every indicator that you know what happened. And you're telling her, look, he was pushing up on the suitcase. I'm not stupid. I watched the video that you refused to watch that you claim you don't know about. There is going to come a point where you do this ending, in my opinion, you do this ending like soliloquy where you take everything that you've gathered to include your rapport building at the beginning, all of the facts that you've assembled, your investigative kind of theory, and mix it with the theme that you've built. And you're just going to tell her, look, this is probably what happened. And I just want you to hear me out for a minute. And the minute she opens her mouth, you tell her, Sarah, stop. You're going to listen to me for a minute. And if she opens her mouth again when you're talking, stop, Sarah. I'm talking. And you can go on a 2 to 4 minute, maybe even 8 minute kind of diatribe of what you think happened. And then say, okay, tell me where I've got that wrong. And she won't be able to poke holes in stuff like that. If she
won't even have a 2-finger width hole to be able to poke through.
She is trapped in a suitcase of lies. And if she tries, there are tactics that you're going to recognize. You're going to be able to recognize her body language. You're going to recognize her defeat. And by the way, I skipped over this in the beginning. She gives an account of something. When somebody gives you an account of something, if it's short and to the point, it's generally truthful. If it's flowered, if there's peppered, if it's peppery, if there's a lot of extra words or a lot of extra, like, John, what did you have for lunch today?
Well, I had a big extra burrito with whole grain tortilla and creme fraiche because they were out of sour cream. And I asked for cilantro to go on the burrito, and there were 4 kinds of beans, frijoles, as they say in burrito land.
Yes. So like there's a whole lot of information there, and that's meant to just kind of, distract me. If he were being like completely truthful and honest and he had a burrito for lunch, he would say, I had a burrito for lunch.
Yeah.
Right. Generally, people just tell a very succinct story. People that are being truthful to you just tell a succinct story. They don't talk about, look, I mean, there are 2 different kinds of beans, and I get agita when I have the black beans. So I chose not to have the back, but that's all meant to confuse you. So there's one way of averting that, like you call them on that too, like stick to the topic. Another way is when somebody gives you a story. So, John, what's a good question to ask you? What route did you take from your kitchen to your studio?
The direct route.
Okay, that's a truthful answer. If he gave any other answer other than, well, I had to stop by the car to get my keys out.
Yeah.
Then I had to open the studio, but I had to turn on the computer. You don't understand about the laptop. It's this whole thing and internet and all this other stuff. Okay, great. Again, we're covering the peppered and floured and all of this other stuff. Yeah. If you say, John, I'm a little confused by your story, let's start from where you are now and work back.
So I was in my office and I had to go past the couch, and I saw both my animals sitting on the couch, and I was like, you guys are lazy. Neither one of you has a job. And wouldn't you believe it? Like, I love my dog, and of course, she's sick, so I try not to give her a hard time, but she's not very smart. And I'm worried she's never going to go to dog college. I'm worried she's going to go to dog Vietnam. And it's the state
plus
thing.
The cat was smoking a cigarette. But here's my point. When people lie to you, they rehearse their story from front to back. In other words, from left to right. So Sarah's rehearsed story is, we had a couple drinks. He wanted to play hide and seek. I went upstairs. He never came up. I never in a million years thought that he was still in the suitcase because I left him enough room to breathe. If you ask her to to say she's memorized that 100 times in that order. If you ask her in reverse what happened, her brain does not work that way. So she's going to be like, well, I okay, I woke up this afternoon. I felt pretty bad because I passed out. I mean, uh, in other words, it's tough to recall things backwards.
Yeah.
So it's just another tactic. Anyway,
Her whole thing is that she knows that it's never been believable. This is, I mean, let's back up in 100-foot view. It's never been believable.
She has the narcissistic view that this is all believable and that she has them fooled. Like she's not living in a reality that the rest of us are living in. She's still not living in that reality, by the way. She's a pain in the ass to all of her attorneys. She's being a pain in the ass to the judge. She wants something for free out of this. And like I said before, it's the same thing as a DUI manslaughter case. Nobody necessarily goes out and says, I think I'm going to get shit hammered tonight and run somebody over and kill them. Nobody intends to do that. That's not your intention, but that's what happened. And you have to own that. You have to pay the piper because the drunk driving part is illegal and there's an enhancement when you kill somebody. This is the same thing. There's some kind of negligence involved. She sprinkled in some malice by saying, fuck you. And then he died. So there is something to this, right? She's got to pay the piper.
Someone that knows nothing about this or hears just a little bit like, oh, they were playing around in a suitcase.
She's been drinking
and then watches
probably
that
went
video.
to sleep. That's what happened.
But you let him out before. I mean, you put him in, so why didn't you take him out?
Because I was upstairs and I fell asleep. My intention is not for this to happen. I am sick about it. I've never
that's a lie.
done anything like this before in the past. I am sick, especially with that. I thought I couldn't sleep last night. I don't know.
Well, here's the thing. That hole that
He
you're
eventually
talking
would have
about.
been able to get out.
Huh.
Alcohol.
Based off what you're telling us, he should have been
Yes.
able to get out.
Okay.
But the video shows him attempting to get out, begging to get out, and he can't. So that's just what we're trying to figure out. I don't know if maybe you had too much to drink, you zipped it up all the way.
Question, John?
Yeah, the detectives, they were kind of tripping over each other a little bit. Do they have different strategies here at this point?
I do think that they are subtly trying to get her admit little pieces here and there that they probably missed at some point. So, getting her to admit that she zipped it up all the way, you know what I mean? Like asking these
Sure.
little questions that they're just kind of reviewing in their minds of she hasn't built an out. We've sealed, my friend Jim, who was in the chat at one point, was a homicide detective at one point. He had a very big impact on my career. And his saying, when he was a homicide detective, the homicide unit he worked in was, we leave no stone unturned. I mean, that's it's like a visual and it's impactful, like leave no stone unturned. So get every detail about her motive, get every detail about her alibi, get it all out, because you're going to have to answer to it somewhere, somehow, in court, or somebody's going to ask you questions about it.
And then,
I did not zip it up all the way.
Okay, well.
I did not zip it up all the way.
It's another indicator of untruthfulness, by the way. I did not zip it up all the way.
This is horrific, okay? Horrific.
It is terrible.
Yeah, so they left it alone.
Horrific. I don't think I'll ever be right because of this. Ever be right. Dealing with everything else that I have in my life, personally. And then this,
Okay.
whom I loved,
What?
it was not intentional. I will put my hand on the Bible. It was not intentional.
Oh.
Yeah, invoking God is a big.
You
I
had
don't know why
found out,
she
hey, I
thought
wasn't
they'd be dressed
intoxicated.
up.
I wasn't this. I wasn't that.
Being drunk and intoxicated, which, yes,
Okay.
you can tell that I had been drinking, but
Okay. So if you weren't.
That's an admission, and this is where I employ the charm. Like, Sarah, that was a big step you just took. We're getting there. You're at a 2. We need you at a 10. and you know, you're at a 2 on the truth meter. I guarantee by the time we leave here, you're going to be at a 10. But that was a big step that you just took, and I appreciate you doing that. And like, because she's like, fuck, like, I just admitted. She just literally just admitted that she was drunk and then tried to erase what she said.
Intoxicated, then why would you ever leave somebody in a suitcase that's begging to get out, that's telling you they can't breathe?
If I hadn't been drinking, you still think it would be the same thing? Where it's like, hop in, I'm going to go to sleep. Is that what you all are trying to do? To portray me as?
We're not trying to do anything.
I mean, I don't know what you all want me to tell you, because this was not in any way, shape, or form, hand on the Bible, intentional.
Okay. So you just left him there to teach him?
I didn't kill him.
You left him there to teach him a lesson?
I didn't mean to leave him there. That's what I'm trying to tell you.
You got up and walked away. How is that not intentionally leaving him there?
Because I'm looking at the hole, knowing that it's there. He'll get out no problem. Because
All right, so this is where I'm saying this is something else they should have called her on. A minute ago, you told me that you don't even remember taking this video, that it's too treacherous to watch. How is it that you remember the hole and the size of the hole? Do you see where I'm coming from, Sarah? I think that you made a huge mistake. People make mistakes, but it's time to own up to the mistake. If you don't remember the video, you don't remember the hole. And you can't even show me the hole on the video that you don't remember. So you don't remember the hole. Let's get past that. It's kind of a negotiation. Like, we're past that. We're Sarah, don't go back to the whole thing. We've already established you didn't know the size of the hole you left him. You zipped it up all the way. You know, if you're going to play the negotiation dance, just shoot high.
And then he doesn't, but you don't go check on him.
You even moved, you admit to moving the suitcase, like, over. So
you roll it.
You roll it out, like, it's not like...
I didn't want it to be like that. Don't...
To be like what? I didn't want it to be like that. To be like what?
You didn't want him to be upside down? How do you even get upside down?
Right. You guys are killing me right now.
What a poor choice of words.
Well, based on the video, one video is at 11:12 and the next one's at 11:23, so you actually gave him at least 11 minutes per video recording. So my thing is, when it stopped, he asked multiple times, I mean, why? Why did you not let him out? It's just a simple question.
To be honest with you, I mean...
Were you punishing him?
No. Just...
Well, that's what you're saying in the video.
This is what you got. This is what you make me feel like.
See, and then it's all backfired on me. Like, it's all backfired on me. And I understand the severity of this.
You killed him.
He's dead.
It's awful, I know.
Okay.
It's awful. And I will tell you both this right now, too. I will never drink alcohol again.
Well, you don't get that in prison, so yeah, we believe that.
Like, I will never drink alcohol again. I don't care what it is in any way, shape, or form.
So I ask, is this bargaining or acceptance? Like, is she bargaining, you know, in the stages of grief, is she bargaining with herself that, like, I'll never drink alcohol again? Like, a minute ago, alcohol was not a factor, that you were completely fine. Now, all of a sudden, you're building a defense that alcohol was a factor. So which is it?
But let's get back to this. What was the reason for leaving him when he's begging to be let out? I don't understand that.
What I have a feeling was, and again, it's the whole time frame thing. You all.
I'm not asking a time frame. I don't care about a time frame. He's in the bag saying, "I can't."
My God.
And you say, "Fuck you."
When he, for the whole few minutes that he was in there,
minimum 11. But yes, go ahead. It's a few.
Okay. This is where they're just like, they've lost her. They're so frustrated that you know, they probably not physically but mentally want to choke the shit out of her. Yeah. And they've they've lost control of themselves. It's a very, very hard thing to maintain your emotional maturity in a case, especially like this. But they're like, she's interrupting her and she's like, yeah, well, 11 minutes to be exact. And then he's going to bounce back with some other comment about 11 minutes and then listen to her reaction.
For the one video.
Well, in between those two videos. It's
Between the
11
two
minutes.
videos? Okay.
Yeah.
So what was the question again?
Okay, so they had this back and forth about 11 minutes and 11 minutes that because she felt the need to kind of, smudge her story or get in their face about it. And what's the defendant's out in this whole thing? What was the question again? You guys are kind of going back and forth on some times here. You don't even know what the question is.
I have a question.
Go.
How long were they in there with her? Because, you talk about how they're losing some kind of control with her. She is irritating. But you're locked in a room with her. Like, she's locked in there with them, and they're locked in there with her in a way because they're doing psychological battle. It is wearing them down physically. They'll be tired after this. I just wonder, how long did this go on for?
Yeah, I think the video I downloaded was 2 hours and 35 minutes or something that I reviewed, and I chopped it down to 45 minutes. There's a big chunk of when a crime scene technician comes in and takes the skin from underneath her fingernails, which it's fruitful. I mean, it's not fruitful in my opinion. Like, yeah, go ahead and take that skin from under the nails, but she's already told you that, yeah, we had sex and, I dug into his back. So, like, the presence of skin under her fingernails is going to be, I don't know if they have a way of matching up her nails to the scratch on the back of his neck or what. But so Christy asked, like, hey, is it common for two detectives to be in there at once? And normally it is. It's normally one detective doing all the talking and the other one's either writing notes or holding up cue cards behind the defendant, or every once in a while jumping in to try to clarify things if the one detective is, if you need to start tag teaming. But
it's why Mormons come in pairs. It's the same psychology there. It's exactly 2-on-1. Yeah.
That's why they wear the white shirts and the black ties as well.
Yeah.
So the road to hell is paved with what?
I didn't intentionally mean for this to happen.
But you can't tell us why you left him in there and went upstairs. That's my only issue. Like, what am I supposed to write? What do I write?
So my thing is, though, it's what I have a feeling is I went upstairs and just hit the bed kind of thing. But, again, I'm thinking he'll be up here in a minute.
We're getting there, Sarah. Put your hand on her shoulder. Tell her that's another big admission. I think we're at a 3 now. We still need to work towards that 10, though, Sarah. And we're going to get to 10 before we leave here.
But then I go out.
Here's the motive.
What was the motivation for leaving him in the back?
Why he was left in the back? Why the video?
I didn't have any motivation. It was he and I having a great day, fooling around and being stupid, and apparently me going upstairs and hitting the bed, not going to sleep, where it's like, I'm tired now, I'm going to go to sleep.
Where else did it come from?
If you were, say it's opposite, you were in the suitcase and you're asking to be let out, would you hope that that person would let you out? Like, you're asking to be let out of a suitcase, should they not let you out?
Eventually. I'm guessing. I mean, I'm blaming it on the wine.
Blaming it on the wine?
That's perfect. I mean, she's now at that stage. She's back to blaming it on the wine. That's a lot better than not blaming it on the wine. That's why I say blame it on the screw top, blame it on the Henny. Got you feeling dizzy, doesn't it?
You were very adamant about the fact that both of you had your wits about you. What's your favorite word to use?
Compass mentis.
You've used it today too, to say that you guys are within your wits. There's two empty bottles of wine.
No, but we didn't drink both of them.
I think you did.
We didn't.
There's receipts for the
They were both purchased yesterday, so I don't.
This is why you should never talk, because she's saying, oh no, we only had one bottle of wine. And they're saying, yeah, this is why you think we're dumb, but we pulled receipts out of your trash and we pulled 2 empty wine bottles. And more than likely, they have the video from Publix.
I don't know how you didn't, because they weren't there the day before.
The one
There's
was.
2 Publix receipts from yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
Only thing purchased on either one was a single bottle of wine, 2 of them. So we have each bottle of wine that was empty in your garbage can that you purchased yesterday, or he purchased, but you 2 would have consumed together.
Okay, well, I
mean, there's receipts, so it's not even worth the going back.
So this is, so I don't know what you guys are.
My friends and I in the military had
You
this
told
saying.
us that. You didn't go upstairs?
Again, there was a hole in a suitcase. I unzipped it from the hole with one finger.
Well, the damn hole didn't do him no good, did it?
But he could push it open.
No, he
Did he?
couldn't.
Blaming him now.
The video
No.
shows him pushing up.
And
If he could push it open, why wouldn't he have gotten out himself? Why would he beg you to open it?
I tell
Okay,
you, he can't breathe.
okay.
If someone
I-
can do something for themselves, they're going to do it. They don't need assistance unless they need assistance.
So, but why would he start doing it?
Because he couldn't, because it was all the way zipped.
Okay.
Didn't see it.
It wasn't.
That's quite
I
the bombshell.
intentionally
She's the
didn't do it.
detective
That
now.
I intentionally did not.
All right, watch her head when she makes that admission. Watch her head.
Because it was all the way zipped.
Okay.
Didn't see it.
It wasn't. I intentionally didn't do it.
And I'll try to speed through the rest of this, but she
I
said
intentionally didn't do it. I
I
love that
intentionally
one,
didn't
too.
do it
I
because
intentionally
she
didn't
said
do it.
she said it was already zipped, which is what? I realize that people are listening to this. They don't know what I'm doing, but she's bobbing her head up and down, indicating yes, but it was already zipped. People don't realize that your body is freaking out right now. There's adrenaline fire. There's synapses firing everywhere, and you're in divided attention. You're in a fight or flight stage as it is. It's not that you're going to physically fight, but your body is in fight or flight, and you can't control your physiological things. So sometimes you can't control your emotions. Sometimes you can't control your breathing because your muscles start to flex. So your oxygen is depleted because so that makes your heart beat faster, which means you'll see the neck vein popping out a little bit more. But it also means that when you say something like giving a yes or no answer, but shaking your head in the opposite, you're giving it away. You're giving away your body. It's either going to come out through your mouth, it's going to come out through your body language, or it's going to come out on paper. One of the 3 ways. And she just said it was already zipped.
Yeah.
So she's saying yes, affirmative. It was already zipped, which is contradictory. She should have been saying it was already zipped. It wasn't zipped all the way or whatever.
I intentionally didn't do it is also a contradiction as well.
That I intentionally did not do.
I intentionally did not do. But when she says, by the way, when she says that I intentionally did not do, that is something for the vultures to swoop down on and say, then what did you intentionally do? Because if there is a that, it implies that there's something that she intentionally did. This is not it. And I'll give you that, Sarah. This is not what it was that was intentional. Let's start with what was intentional. Putting him in the suitcase, zipping up the suitcase. Tell me what was intentional.
Zip it all the way.
So here's the true motive for today.
So I'm being portrayed as like this abuser.
We're not saying that he doesn't abuse you.
Absolutely.
We're not saying.
So I'm the one that's being portrayed as the abuser.
Because
I have never dealt with anything like this before. I don't know what to do, how to do it, and I always know what to do and how to do it.
That's your soliloquy. That's your theme. This is the time to strike with this whole thing where you say, look, you've never been in this situation before. You were probably the high school valedictorian. You read books. You go upstairs and you read books as you try to get away from him. Every other, you've got your baby boy. Every aspect of your life, you're in complete control, but you can't control this one. This is something you can't control, and it's driving you crazy probably right now, but it's okay. People make mistakes. So what we need to do is, you know what I mean? Like, you can just develop that theme.
This, I don't know. So I don't know, like, what's going on, or, like...
We are simply trying to find out as well. Again, we got one side of the story. You're telling us, we're going with what you're saying, but then we find stuff that negates what you're telling us.
And I don't even remember doing that.
Okay.
Watch the detective here.
You're telling us that we're assuming stuff, but what we're simply doing is telling you what we saw in the video and
I
repeating what
understand.
you told us.
I understand. Because I don't remember that.
Okay. Doesn't mean it didn't happen just because you don't remember it.
Goes for his phone.
So is the
It's texting
thing
again.
something about me? Like, what's...
Is the what? Texting? Oh, no, I'm texting.
No,
You guys are scaring me.
Even that answer didn't make sense. So she goes, so is this texting about me? I mean, if you're going to say anything, I would say, don't worry about the texting. Worry about what you're in here for. Like, she has established control over that room, but the one detective is like, oh no, I'm texting. Like, what? You're sitting there drinking water. You're not even texting. And then, he's got his face buried in his phone for that, whatever that text message is. I think all they're trying to do is get they've got all they need. They're just trying to get the crime scene technicians there and get all that set up. But go ahead, John.
Oh, no, that one question I had just threw out. Suppose she had lawyered up from the very beginning. I mean, she doesn't even have a chance then. I mean, it's amazing that she's spilling all this stuff, but I mean, I don't think she ever had a chance.
No, she didn't. I mean, she could, again, a good attorney probably could get a plea deal put in place for probably not even manslaughter. I mean, they probably could have gone with a culpable negligence or something to that effect. They plea down DUI manslaughters all the time. And this is probably a first offense for her. Maybe it's not. I think she was arrested for domestic violence.
I don't know. The taunting him and saying "fuck you," like you said, and adding the element of malice, to me, that's
why they stuck with
it. That's an aggravating factor rather than something that's mitigating.
That's why they stuck with it.
So, like, I don't know, like, what to expect. I mean, I had questions of things that needed to be taken care of. Like, I don't...
What are your questions?
I have one last question. You realize you're the person that killed him, right?
I thought about that.
Okay, you left him in a bag when he's begging you, saying, I can't breathe, let me out, and you said, fuck you. And you got up off the couch and went upstairs and left him in that bag.
Not intentionally.
Slapping the knees does not match the beat of the words, one, but two, why not call her on the yes or no factor of this?
Yeah,
this is
yes or no, intentionally or unintentionally. Yes or no question. Did you kill him?
And you can play 3 strikes and you're out. Like, I'll give you another chance here. I might even give you 2, but this is a yes or no question, Sarah. Do you know that you killed him? And she goes, not intentionally. Okay, strike 2. Do you know that you killed him? Strike 3. I'm done. That's your final word. That's how we're going to leave this now, just so you'll know.
Again,
I would never do that to George.
You did.
Not intentionally. Know that.
I don't.
Know that.
You got up and you went up to bed.
Alcohol is a shitty thing. It's alcohol.
So
Not, again...
the reason that you killed him?
You all...
Please sit down.
Listen to me.
Please sit down.
You all listen.
Was that the flight kick again?
I swear I did not lay a hand on him.
Okay. You just zipped him in the bag.
Nor he.
You just zipped him in the bag.
That means she laid a hand on him.
And then you flipped the bag around several times.
I didn't do that intentionally.
You didn't intentionally flip the bag around?
No. Why would I do that?
Well, you
Good
told us
question.
you
You
did.
did.
You told us
when he was upside down.
Measure a minute ago.
Well, you had to put him upside down.
You can't get in a suitcase upside down because the
Oh my
What,
gosh.
you put the
See,
stuff
and
in
that's the
where his
unfortunate.
body was?
That's the unfortunate thing too, is nobody else was there. That's the
We have a
unfortunate
video
thing.
showing the suitcase in several different positions.
She just fights about every single part of it. The parts
So
that
it
don't
doesn't
even
matter
necessarily
anything
matter.
what it is I say. So it makes no difference whatsoever.
It's just, you're lying, and like, you're now changing
Who's
your
lying
story.
about what?
You're now you were drunk.
Oh, I never said that I was drunk.
Exactly what you did here today. That's
I
okay.
just said alcohol is a shitty thing.
Everything recorded.
Alcohol.
You blamed it on the alcohol.
You blamed it on the alcohol. Alcohol does a lot to people.
Yes, but I never said I was drunk.
Okay.
You did.
That's why I say the irony in this whole thing is that would be her only out. Like, you would want to say, dude, I was shit hammered. I don't know what I did. Like, she's like so badly needs to be in control of this that she's like, no, don't put words in my mouth.
Does she not want to admit to being drunk because that almost impugns her character, and so she's like, I have to defend my character at all costs, that she doesn't realize that it'd be easier to take a ding into her character?
Yeah, I mean, he tried at the beginning to give her the domestic violence victim out. Like, look, everybody has their breaking point. And you know, he pushed you, and you know, like, he tried that. And then all of a sudden it turned into the drinking thing. But you're exactly right, John. That's this is the only thing that she could have said.
You keep going away from it.
I don't know.
That's exactly what happened. You went up with the bad joke up the next day.
Are you all trying to have me admit that? Like, are you trying to have me admit that? Because I will never admit it, because it's not true. It's not true.
Watch his reaction
Horrific.
here.
Because I don't remember taking those videos.
Okay.
How horrific. I'm thinking he's in the bathroom. I'm thinking he's downstairs in the laptop. I can't find him. So what's going to happen? Like,
here's what gets me though. Is
all right, this is where I'm going to call him. Like, does that give you an indication that he remembers what she just said to him? And this is why he keeps saying, like, this is a homicide interview. This is a death investigation. This is somebody's death. This is, you know, potentially a lot of years in prison for her. Put the freaking phone away and listen to what she's saying, because he's just like, she's talking, he's reading a text, he is not paying attention to what she's saying. She's actually asking some pretty, you know, damning questions if you listen. And he's like, you know, what gets me about this whole thing, because he has to recover. He doesn't know what she just said, and he can't react to it. He has to come up with his own.
you can clearly tell that I had been drinking some. You can clearly tell.
I had several people that came up to me in that apartment complex said that you were drunk on a daily basis.
Oh
you
my
were screaming at
gosh.
him
Right.
regularly.
Right.
Really?
Right. Talk to the property
Really?
manager. Talk to the property manager.
Okay.
Because it's not.
These are your neighbors, the one that live next to you. Your property manager does not live next to you. They see you every day. How many?
Oh my
You had two neighbors you went
gosh.
to and asked to go
See,
use the
that is
restroom.
just
and
not
they said,
fair.
No. Hold on.
Isn't all that kind of pointless, whether or not she's a drunk?
Well, she's trying to paint this rosy picture that they don't argue and that they're trying to get their lives back together, and that she doesn't drink, and their neighborhood survey told them something completely different, obviously. And that's why she dropped, if you remember, it was the last episode, I think, she dropped the neighbor in the grease. She's like, oh, by the way, he's here illegally. I don't know if I'm supposed to report that to you or not.
Yeah.
How do I go about getting his wedding ring, engagement ring?
It's at the
Guilty, Your Honor.
medical examiner's office. It'll come to us eventually, and then
It'll be released to the next of kin.
Yeah. Okay.
Which is not you.
That is a civil issue.
Oh, I love
want
it.
it.
That's a civil issue. 911 dispatchers around the world
I get it.
unite on that one.
All right, this is probably the grand finale here. This is where John stole the line last week. Eric says it all the time. Tell me your answer. Don't sell me your answer. And when somebody is looking at you and not breaking eye contact and not blinking, that is not necessarily a sign of being truthful, as much as you may think. Watch what she does here. She is trying to sell this detective on her wholesomeness. But watch what she does.
Look, I get it. That looks really bad. So that's what scares me. Like, what do I need to plan on? Like, what do I need to plan on? I promise you, on my son's life, it was not intentional. I promise you, on Lucas's life, it was not intentional.
I don't know you. I can't say I know anything about you. I don't know what would be a true statement, what would not. I mean, you're promising on your son's life, that's fine.
That's how much it means.
Sorry.
That's how much it, look, that's how much it means.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying, John? You know, he came in with a glass of water for her. He sets it down in front of her, and she moved her head like a parakeet to make sure that she was not breaking eye contact with the female detective.
Yeah, she was in a moment where it was she was staring down the female detective because she's trying to say, I promise you. So it was a confrontational moment, and if the detective walks in front of her, it's like stealing her thunder of that moment where she worked up the nerve to stare down the detective.
By the way, if you're a budding detective out there listening or whatever, and somebody tells you that, like, this is why I'm in fear, and you know, she's giving you all the clues of what's important to her. She's telling you that she's scared. She's telling you that she's in fear. She's telling you about Lucas, her 9-year-old boy. So capitalize on that. You tell her, I understand you're afraid. You should be afraid. You should be very afraid right now, because your future with Lucas as a mom is at stake here. What you're telling us doesn't match this video. It doesn't match anything else. And nothing is adding up. So if you want to get back to being Lucas's mom, it starts with the truth. We got to get past number 3 on the scale of truth and get to 10. And you haven't, in fact, you've probably slipped back into 2.5, because it's bringing that in her mind. Like, plus it's reminding her about her son. It's validating her fear that I'm really scared here. Well, fuck yeah, you're scared. You better be scared.
I hope you take that to heart. Please.
Last thing.
Do you promise and swear that everything we talked about today has been true and accurate to the best of your knowledge?
For which
True and accurate to the best of your knowledge.
What, that it wasn't intentional?
Everything you've said today, everything that's come out of your mouth has been true and accurate to the best of your knowledge.
To the best of my knowledge.
Correct.
She can't even answer that.
Yes.
Why?
Simple yes or no.
When we talk to somebody,
Why?
to assure that everything that we've talked about is
true and accurate to the best of that person's knowledge.
It's not a trick question.
To the best of my knowledge?
To the best of your knowledge.
Everything that you've told us today is true and accurate to the best of your knowledge.
Yes, but it was not intentional.
She still has to put that in there. She can't just say yes.
Still got the last word. Okay, well, explain that to your cellmate. So that's that, John. Finally, we have some closure. But if you'll remember, the case is not over. Like, she's still playing games with the attorneys, and she thinks she's going to beat this rap somehow. She is kind of reminiscent of Casey Anthony, except Casey had some truthful moments, and you could pick up on them. But Casey was completely delusional. Like, she lied probably her entire childhood, and probably, that was her Super Bowl. Those moments were her Super Bowl. So.
Well, that was amazing, Detective. It was thrilling. I wish I wasn't on the show so I could just watch. I feel very jealous of everyone that's in our audience. Just a couple details. I don't know what you know about the state of the case. You told me, or someone did, that she has had something like 6 lawyers. She keeps arguing ineffective counsel. Yes. She wrote a letter to the judge, which is totally out of order. So the judge had to read it in court so that it would go on the record saying that, hey, the defendant had this communication with me by sending me this letter. And it isn't an utter shit show, I'm sure. I can't imagine being her lawyer and her lawyer trying to get her to figure out one thing to do. as she keeps, trying to have it both ways. Her character as a person who doesn't drink is unassailable, and she for sure didn't intentionally do this, and because alcohol fucks you up, but she'll never drink again and all this. And
she
man,
is a
she's
jail
just-
Karen now, though.
she's
She's
just-
so this is the problem with her attorney. She's a jail Karen, so she's like, he's not returning my calls. I'm going to tell the judge on you. I want to speak to your supervisor.
Yeah. Your supervisor at the law firm.
I want to speak to the Supreme Court, but she also these are all court appointed, so it might be a private counsel that's doing it pro bono, like they have to rotate. Or
Public
it could
defender.
Be
I feel bad for them, man.
It could be somebody from the public defender's office, but this is the sixth attorney, and he's like, look, the sixth attorney is like, look, I can't represent her. She doesn't. She's not living in reality, and she's competent enough to stand trial, but she's not. It's not reality based. So I recuse myself, and he wrote something pretty scathing in his request to be recused. It was funny.
Yeah, it's interesting case, and I love watching you break it down. And I guess I would have loved to see you interrogate her, confront her with all that stuff, because it's just, as you watch her, she's so irritating, and you just want to attack and destroy those lies. But
yeah,
I won't say she's a good liar or good at deflecting them, but she won't take that responsibility, or she won't do the smart thing, which is just ask for a lawyer and shut up. I mean, she's just constantly feeding rope that hangs herself either way. It's and going on for 2 hours like that. It's just
all things said. Just understand, as cops, this is a negotiation. 1, 2, information is the currency. You're trying to get the currency out of their pocket, so you have to be kind of the used car salesman in a sense. You got to be able to talk shit, and you got to be able to listen better than you talk. And because they drop little hints all over the place that we overlook, because sometimes we get so wrapped up in the anger that we miss what's being said. So if you're the type of person that speaks more than they listen, there's a good chance you're going to miss out on some good interview stuff. If you just shut your mouth and let them talk, they're going to talk their way right into your web.
Well, Drew, I've got to find more cases, more interrogation stuff to break down, because I know it's not dispatch related, but it's just fascinating to see. And this was a really, really unique one, and I don't think it was oversaturated in the news, so it was kind of a good one to break down here. Halloween's coming up. Did you have kind of a spooky case?
Yeah, I don't want to scare you too bad, John.
Okay.
But this is a case out of Pueblo, Colorado, not Colorado. This came to me from a family member, and it had 911 in the title.
This takes us to our segment. It had 911 in it.
Yes. August 11, 2018. Here's the call.
Hello?
Nothing but static. It's a 911
Hello?
call. Very frequently done. Hang up calls. This one's a little different, though. This is the Pueblo Police Department, so obviously what they're going to do when something like this happens, like the voices you hear are dispatchers, but naturally we're going to try to call back. We're going to send a car to check the address. John, they checked the address, and what was it? Oh man, does this get spooky? Because it was the Imperial Memorial Gardens Funeral, Cremation, and Cemetery. It had 911 in the title. That's spooky. The officers that responded out there said that the place was sealed up tighter than a drum. There were no lights on in there. Was more than likely a cadaver party going on. They just couldn't see it. I don't know if they were playing like Go Fish or whatever. But John, I didn't mean to scare you. Hopefully I haven't jilted you too bad. But that is something that came from my brother, who, by the way, just retired. He was the general manager, or I can't remember his title, but he ran a cemetery. Very scary. Are you on mute?
I am. I think Cemetery Men is their title. Do you mind if I just tell a quick anecdote?
Yes, please do.
All right. So everyone, Mike is leaving, which I have a huge problem with. Like, you are honor bound to stay here, sir. I don't care if the Bills are playing.
Yeah.
So one time, taking 911 call, and it's coming from a landline, which means, first of all, it's just scary for that because it's very unusual.
Yeah, right.
And but the cool thing is I know exactly where it's coming from. I don't have an area of uncertainty, or I don't have to check prior records. I know it's going to this house. Well, this house just is like right outside of city limits. Like the line is like between his house and the next one. So technically is a call for a county deputy, but I don't have one close. The city cop's close by. Doesn't seem like a big deal. 911 open line. 911 calls, and I hear static, that ASMR sound that some people love so much. And I can kind of hear something. So I could tell the phone's off the hook. I talk for a little bit. 911, where's your emergency? Can you hear me? I even do the whole, like, if you can hear me and you can't respond, mash the keypad or something. I'm thinking maybe they have a dial tone or do something so that so I know you're in danger. Like, we actually have communication established here. Well, I don't get anything, and so I hang up and I call back because I'm like, well, maybe the phone got knocked over or something, or this is just what you normally do is you return the call anyway. And maybe the bell on the phone will alert them that there's a problem, and they'll just say, oh no, it was a misdial. This is how it's resolved almost 100% of the time. So I call back, and it rings twice, and then it picks up. And I hear just more of this kind of staticky sounds, and I can tell that, like, you can hear the sound of like an empty room. When you walk into a room and it doesn't have furniture in it, it has this open space sound. Yeah. So I could tell that someone's there, and they've answered the phone, but they're not saying anything. I'm like, all right, for sure got to send the cop. So I get on the radio, and at this time, I think this was a few years ago. So our police band was actually on UHF. It wasn't encrypted or anything. I send the police officer out in this little town. I say, hey, this is just outside your jurisdiction, but do you mind just swinging by just to see if there's a problem there? 10-4, I can do that. My phone rings. It's this guy who runs the tow truck in this little town. He listens to the radio because if there's an accident, he wants to put down his tools and go grab his stuff. He's also in the fire department, so double duty there. He's a volunteer fireman, tow truck driver. Very good reason to be listening to the scanner. He's just always listening. So he says, hey, I was listening to the scanner, and I heard you send the police officer out to that house. And I'm like, yeah, I sure did. He goes, well, that house belongs to a guy named Dwayne. I'm like, I know that. I looked up the Geographic Information Service and know it's Dwayne's house. And he goes, well, Dwayne passed away a few years ago. And I'm like, okay, that's weird. And his wife's in an insane asylum. Because she's got dementia, so she's in an insane asylum, about 5 miles away. There shouldn't be anybody in the house. The house is all tied up in probate because she's insane and he's dead, and the kids are fighting over it.
Right.
But there could be a caretaker there. I'm like, the caretaker's calling me. I got Jack Torrance out there calling me from the house. He's shining a little bit. So send the cop out there, and he gets out there, and what he reports to me later is this. He gets out there, finds the place all overgrown. The grass is all long. All the doors, all the windows are all boarded up. He tries to see inside. There's no signs of occupancy whatsoever. He doesn't have probable cause to go in there. I call back. He can't hear the phone ringing. So he eventually just has to be like, well, I don't know. I'm unable to resolve this case, and I'm 10-8. It doesn't seem to be anybody in danger, and I have nothing that gives me police power to enter this address because I don't hear anything inside. No one's answering me. So I call him on the phone. We kind of shoot the shit, and then he leaves. And I call the number again, and it answers. And I'm on the phone. I'm like, and I can hear that static he's had him. And I'm like, Dwayne, can you hear me? And I just listen. And I just hear that crackling sound. And so I hang up and call the police officer and say, that was weird. And I guess he's driving through town later. He calls me back, says, hey, you remember that storm we had last night? I'm like, yeah, we had high winds. We had a bunch of power lines down. We had to send out the fire department for sparking lines. He says there's this old telephone line. It's down in the cemetery. It fell down over Dwayne's grave.
And there's a receiver buried halfway through.
That's the end of the story. I could say like, he also worked for the telephone company. And actually, the part about the phone line down being over his grave is made up. That's from
that's
from the Twilight Zone. I guess I could do voicemails too, if you don't mind.
Oh, please. Yeah,
I could do voicemails, and you're going to be here for that, which I think would be good if I could do the voicemails. I'm going to go ahead and bring those up. Hopefully, they will play. Let's go ahead and listen.
Hey, boys. Just calling in. It's been a few weeks since I checked in. Love the show, and always enjoy seeing you guys cover different topics. Hoping to tune in tonight's show, but we'll see. We have a few things lined up. So, as always, go on, and can I get a mic click?
You sure can. Click, buddy.
That's thank you for calling us from beyond the grave. I appreciate that.
We appreciate it, Dwayne. So it's good to hear from you. I hope things are going well. I don't know who that was. Actually, I think I might know who it is because he's said Mike Click in the chats before. It's not Bosco.
No, it's not Bosco.
No. We'll keep going. Two more, and then we'll close it out. Could be. We'll close it out with these two voicemails. Let's play them now.
Hey, John. Well, I guess Drew, too. Hey, John, just calling to compliment you on the fantastic job you're doing on this podcast. This is Jim from Florida, your mentor.
Thank you, mentor.
Keep up the good work, buddy. Talk to you soon.
You're welcome. Thank you for those kind words.
Jim from Florida.
Menting me. Thank you.
Right.
Hello, this is Jim from Florida calling for John. John, I tend to wonder who is the trained investigator on your broadcast team. I seem to think that you have the edge in this after the 3-hour marathon. Anyway, good job, John. I'm always in your corner.
Thank you.
Bye.
But Jim, you forgot me.
You know, I am a pretty good investigator, and I'm beginning to suspect that Jim's compliments of me are merely tools of antagonization for you. Antagonization. It's late at night, and I'm full of Dayquil.
Yeah.
If I'm merely going to be a pawn in Jim's mind game on you, I guess, I'll take what I can get. Thanks, Jim. I appreciate that. I can take Drew's piece if I move sideways, I think. So just keep doing it.
Antagonization is a country music festival. I believe it's Antagonization is coming to a stadium near you.
Anyway, guys, this has been great. Thanks for closing up the Suitcase Trilogy with us. Happy Halloween. Stay safe. Make good decisions. And no matter what you do, don't forget to hit like and subscribe.
Don't get yourself Comm centered.
Don't get yourself Comm centered.
And Taylor Swift 1989 Taylor's version.